Okay, so here we are then, splining top sides of this 40-foot motor cruiser, and the reason for that is, look at the gaps in these seams. This one's, I've already done one pass here with an 8mm straight bit on the router, but as you can see, we can see straight through. Here's another seam there, that's the next one down. You can see straight through, you can see the frames in behind there. So this boat's dried out, and also over the years it's also suffered from recaulking. The seam has opened up so much, and so it's got to the point now where we're just going to router these seams and put a straight parallel sided glued batten in. So for the first 8 seams or so, we're going to have basically a close seamed hull, and then below the waterline we're going to leave caulked in the usual fashion, just so then that for maintenance, leak prevention and things like that. The idea is make all these seams good with a glued batten, which is softer than this pitch pine, so there is a little bit of spring to it. And then yep, that'll all get painted and sanded and faired in to finish. So the method is temporarily fix this straight edge, this batten on, and then router along pretty much full thickness. So these planks are about 1 inch thick roughly. They change in thickness depending on the location on the boat. So here's another example here. Yeah, it's wildly open, these seams. There's no way that you could caulk those again. So the options are, if they were thicker planks, you could put a batten on the inside so you got something to caulk against, although that's not really recommended. Or you're going to take the plank off, and if it's sound, you can glue another edge on and refit it, and do that on every other plank, so they're essentially refitted properly, and then recaulk. Or put splines in like we're doing here. But I think with splines, they need to be parallel sided. You don't want to put in a wedge shaped spline, because just even just by tapping them in to hold them in when they're glued in, you can actually start spreading the planks if you're not careful. That does add up. So these are parallel splines done with a router. So the router is obviously doing two things. It's making the groove, and also it's cleaning up each edge ready for gluing. So that's getting rid of any unwanted old putty or filler and things like that. Like you can see on this edge here, that'll all go and get cleaned up. So it's quite a coarse job, quite a hard job on the router bits. So you need a good number of bits and a diamond stone to keep a nice keen edge on your outer bits. So I've done the first pass on this one, and then I've probably been doing it in 3 goes to get down to pretty much full thickness. Now I just use an example here. Obviously we've got the caulking seam and then the rest of the plank, so probably 3/4 of the planks there should actually touch, and then you've got the V caulking seam to caulk with cotton in this case, and then go over with putty. But instead we're opening that up, and we're going to put a batten in, a spline in I should say, virtually full thickness. Now because of the difference in thicknesses of the planks depending on the boat, you know, over the years it's been sanded or worn or whatever, on average they should be about 1 inch thick, but with 25mm or so. But I'm going to go to 20mm, which will leave me 3 to 1, depending where it is, millimeters back here I don't want to come right through into the frames behind, and I don't want to go just halfway. So I want to go as thick as I can, yeah, so they'll get glued in and we'll take it from there. Okay, right, so this side we just started on this seam here, doing the full length ones first, then we can cut our batten to do these two shorter seams. Let's have a look around the other side. As you can see, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seams there. See the lower one, that lower one is as far as we're going. Oh, right, I don't know if you can see from here amidships, that's right on the boot top, which is part of the waterline. And so I'm now leaving the seam below, which you can see that is quite clean, nice and tidy. Anything that's in the water permanently we're keeping as caulked in the normal traditional way. Obviously what that does mean is that as the sweep of the planks come up out of the water, you've got your water line down here, so you've probably got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so seams for about 8 or 10 feet that are traditionally caulked, and then the rest are splined. So there's a transition there in terms of cosmetic paintwork and things like that. You don't want to just do short seams, glued seams, and then start caulking. You want to have a complete seam caulked properly or seams properly. You don't want any transitions. And then on the scaffold just here, these are the splines that were machined up in the other video, all wrapped up, come here for transport. So hopefully that's enough. If I've got my tape right. Okay, then there you have it. That's full depth now. Just there's a slight fraction of a little sort of kick there in the plank where I just haven't gone completely full depth, but it does change slightly as you go through. So as I say, not too worried about that. So our batten now is going to glue in there just with a fraction, and you know, I don't think that's an issue, because obviously on the opposite way round, you'd have probably a quarter to a third of the plank not touching anyway through caulking seam. So yeah, I think that's all fine. It's worked before. So that's the first one there. Got another 7 to go on this side, and if we just come round to the starboard side here, you can see all these all there, all ready to go on that side. So here we are then, at the end of the day, with these seams all routed out. So you can just see in there, hopefully, nice parallel sided seam. Yeah, and the same here. So you just see the back of the plank, just slightly. There's a gap there. Some of them still got remnants of caulking cotton in the back of that one. As you can see there's a massive gap, and interestingly, I don't know if that will come out on the camera, but just in there's a frame in behind here, and you can see the caulking cotton is still wedged in between the planks and the frame, whereas over here the router has removed it slightly. But yeah, so even then it was caulked, it's been caulked right through, which is never a good sign.